The South African Revenue Service collected almost 10 billion rand more than February's revised budget estimate. That's as corporate taxes came in higher than expected and the tax authority clamped down on refund fraud. The higher than budgeted collections are likely to see the budget deficit come in slightly better than February's revised estimates. Factory activity has slumped. The Absa Purchasing Managers Index has slipped into contraction territory, with a reading of 49.2 points in March. That's from 51.7 the previous month. Declines in business activity and new sales orders were behind the slump, suggesting that demand was sluggish. But the outlook is upbeat. The index tracking expected business conditions rose to 62.1. This is the most optimistic respondents have been about their future prospects since the start of 2023. Goldfields has warned that first quarter production will be lower than forecast. That's as a result of weather-related disruptions and a fatality at South Deep. Lower output will impact all-in sustaining costs for the period. And the miner says further detail on this will be reported in its first quarter update, which is due out on the 23rd of May. But the first 3 months of the group's financial year did have a silver lining. Goldfields says its Salares Norte project in Chile delivered first gold during the period. Emira Property Fund has agreed to sell 13 predominantly industrial and office properties situated in the Western Cape to Spear Reit. The transaction carries a price tag of 1.1 billion rand, and Emira says this will be used to reduce debt and fund new acquisitions. Spear has stated that the deal allows for operating efficiencies, which will allow the group to increase its operating profit margins. The acquisition will increase Spear's assets under ownership from 29 to 40. British American Tobacco South Africa has cut cigarette deliveries to some stores. That's as the illicit cigarette trade overwhelms the legal market, and this is affecting jobs. The company is in retrenchment talks with 20 office staff who manage its external deliveries and says it has cut 584 jobs since 2019 as profits plummeted in the face of a surge in illicit trade triggered by the COVID-19 era tobacco ban. Imtiaz Patel will remain as chair of MultiChoice until the conclusion of the Canal Plus transaction. The firm believes this will allow for continuity, and Patel has agreed. The French broadcaster has made a mandatory offer to the DSTV owners' investors to buy the company and will publish a firm intention announcement by Monday. Calgro M3 has exercised an option to take up a transformative project near Sandton. Known as Buckenveld District City, the firm, along with its joint venture partner Emira Property Group, will develop a land parcel that will feature as many as 30,000 housing units alongside commercial, retail and industrial spaces. In terms of the JV agreement, both parties will share the cost of the infrastructure installation required for the development. Calgro will then be responsible for the residential components, while Emira will handle the commercial, retail, industrial, educational and healthcare components for their own benefit. The project has the potential of generating more than 18 billion rand in revenue and marks a significant milestone as it more than doubles Calgro's existing project pipeline. Further afield, the ranks of potential Tesla buyers in the United States are shrinking. That's according to a survey by market intelligence firm Caliber, which attributed the drop in part to CEO Elon Musk's polarizing persona. Let's take a look at this report for more.
Tesla is falling out of favor with American consumers. That's according to a survey by market intelligence firm Caliber, which found the number of potential Tesla buyers in the U.S. is shrinking, which it attributed in part to CEO Elon Musk's polarizing persona. Caliber's so-called consideration score for the electric car company, provided exclusively to Reuters, dropped to 31% in February, down from 70% in November 2021, when it started tracking consumer interest in the brand. Other car companies' caliber tracks have fared better. Tesla did not respond to a request for comment. Musk in the past has blamed high interest rates for curbing consumer demand for big-ticket items like cars. Caliber cited strong associations between Tesla's reputation and that of Musk for the scores, with its survey showing 83% of Americans connect Musk with Tesla. Reuters spoke to 5 marketing, polling, and car experts who said controversies surrounding Musk's increasingly right-wing politics and public statements are weighing on Tesla's brand and demand. In recent years, the billionaire courted controversy with his embrace of the Republican Party and endorsements of anti-Semitic comments on X. Musk has denied being anti-Semitic. Tesla continued to post strong sales growth last year, helped by aggressive price cuts, though the EV maker is expected to report weak quarterly sales.
And Germany has become the biggest EU country to legalize recreational cannabis, despite fierce objections from opposition politicians and medical associations. Here's our reporter, Darling Lechela, with more of the detail.
That's right, Zinati. As of this month, cannabis has been legalized in Germany, and not just for medicinal, but also for recreational use. Joining me with on-the-ground insight and reception of the news is Lars Halter from Deutsche Welle. Thanks for your time today. Now, Lars, how important is the step for Germany? Do you now know, or have a thick cloud of smoke over Berlin?
Thanks for having me. Funny you should ask this. As a matter of fact, there was a thick cloud of smoke over at least parts of the city. More than 1,000 people actually met at Berlin's famous Brandenburg Gate to light up together and celebrate the new law, celebrate the fact that they can finally light up perfectly legal. That is what it's really all about. Cannabis is finally out of the criminal corner. One big sign last night read, "We don't want to be seen as criminals." Well, now people who are smoking weed are no longer seen as criminals. For a few years now, Germans have already been legally using weed for medicinal purposes, like for pain relief, for cancer patients, for example. But of course, lots of people got fake prescriptions from their doctors just to get their hands on some buds. Now, Germans over 18 years of age can legally grow up to 3 plants. They can buy weed, they can transport up to 25 grams, and they are pretty happy about it.
And what is the economic impact of the legalization of cannabis?
Now, it's important to point out that economic concerns were not top of the list for German lawmakers. For years, the debate was mostly about whether legalizing cannabis would be helpful in terms of decriminalizing a widely used product, or whether it would make it too easy for people to consume cannabis and add to the country's drug problem. But there is, in fact, an economic side to all this, and from the government's point of view, the consequences of legalizing cannabis are pretty good. On the one side, by decriminalizing the drug, the government will save millions it used to pour into police and courts who had to deal with people smoking a joint somewhere. At the same time, the legal sale of cannabis products is of course good business, and it will bring in taxes. It's hard to say what kind of revenue will be taxed and how much this will bring in. It could be up to 3 billion euros a year. That is according to some estimates, if Germany would completely deregulate the market. But that is not yet happening. So it will be less than that, but still several millions for sure. Also, there will be a lot of companies doing great business now, not so much stores, but mostly those with products catering to hobby gardeners who want to cultivate their own plants. Legalizing cannabis will give that sector a tremendous boost.
Lastly, how are German companies dealing with the new policy?
No, they can usually not. I've seen some company statements that were pretty clear on cannabis policy. Now that the product is legal, that doesn't mean that employees, for example, can just go ahead and smoke a joint at work. Looking at some DAX-listed companies, some of the largest employers in Germany, car makers like Daimler and BMW, but also chip maker Infineon, all pretty much tell us the same thing. Any use of mind-altering drugs at work is strictly prohibited. Now, this looks very much like they're treating cannabis like alcohol, because drinking at work is obviously not allowed either. That's an almost general rule, but it's especially true, of course, for people operating machinery. Beiersdorf is one of the world's largest personal care providers. They are in fact making a distinction between cannabis and alcohol. To give you a slightly different example here, the latter, they say alcohol is not strictly banned, but rather allowed under certain circumstances like company events. The same will not be true for cannabis products. So German companies are not embracing the new law right now, and for good reason. Cannabis is allowed, as I said before, for recreational purposes, and that should kind of tell you that it's still to be used on your own time, if at all.
Let's leave it there, Lars. Thanks for your time and those insights. That was Lars Halter from Deutsche Welle.